Today, Black Lives Matter militants charged after harassing elderly diners. A judge rules that Pennsylvania's pandemic restrictions were unconstitutional, as it turns out. And Joe Biden calls President Trump a climate arsonist. We've got a lot to get into, folks, and it starts right now.
Already?
Welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, today joined. We got a double dose of Glenn Beck twice in a row, 2 days in a row. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
I'm pitching 1,000, hitting 1,000, whatever.
I just want to keep listening to you struggle to give baseball.
It's like another home run on hockey day.
Also joined by newbie to the show,
Earl Johnson.
Earl Johnson.
We'll see how long it takes people to figure out about the cowboy hat.
It's weird without the hat.
It is.
You should have it surgically sewn to your head.
I really should.
You really should.
Like I said earlier, I look like I've seen better heads on a pimple.
Yeah. I have too.
It's rough.
All right, let's get to the stories of the day. Hey, do we have that today? That'd be great. All right, so 3 Black Lives Matter militants were charged after a viral video showed them harassing elderly diners. Now, this was in Pittsburgh, outside a Pittsburgh restaurant over Labor Day weekend. Here is a little bit of that video. Watch.
The white people that built the system set against mine. You all
So the 3 rioters were charged with different misdemeanors. They ranged from theft, conspiracy, simple trespass, disorderly conduct.
Terrorism.
I mean,
domestic terrorism.
It should be.
That's exactly what that was. They were trying to terrorize that couple. You want to know what it felt like to be a Jew in 1934 in Germany? Right there. That's exactly how it felt. Right before things got crazy, 1933, before they started passing all the laws and for the night of broken glass, that's what was happening. And everybody just stood and took it. I never thought, I thought for religious persecution, I thought for other reasons, yes, but for race, I never thought I'd see this in my life in America.
Yeah, it's a return in many ways to the segregation era. I mean, it's what they're wanting, it's what they're demanding, and it's what's going on. You know, you mentioned Nazi Germany. You know, Hitler was the head of the film commission in Germany, and he would create these films, these public service announcements where the Boy Scouts are out there and they're in the wilderness and an avalanche happens and they try to figure out which one they were going to save, which boy were they going to save, and it was always the blonde-haired, blue-eyed one, right? And anybody that didn't look that way with the skin color, the right Aryan look.
And a full head of hair, right?
Full head of hair, exactly. Exactly. But that was a whole deal. And so through little tidbits of indoctrination, subconsciously and subliminally, that are being put in people's minds right now is getting to the point where this is being normalized. This kind of behavior not only being normalized, it's being justified, and it's being justified from the top down.
Did you hear?
Corporations are doing it, professional sports are doing it, they're all justifying it, they're all normalizing it, so they're making this okay, and it's not.
Did you see Bill Maher, what he said Friday on his show? He had a CNN reporter. And Stephen, do we have that? By any chance? I played it on radio, I think, today.
It may take them just a second.
Okay. But he had a CNN reporter on, and they were talking about it. And he said, come on, you guys, you can't say that, I see the justification happening on the news. And I see, and he said, don't look at me like that, because the CNN reporter gave him a smirk like, oh, Bill, you're so crazy. You're part of it. You're part of this conspiracy that we're all like, And he said, don't look at me like that. You know it. You see it. Are you a part of it? Are you part of a problem now? When you lose Bill Maher, and Bill Maher is saying, you are off the deep end here. How are you going to vote? You're a white person, an older person, or you're a person that just actually believes in justice. You think that's going to appeal to your supporters?
Yeah, I mean, that's what strikes me is every time I see something like the video that we just saw of the people harassing the elderly white people just sitting trying to enjoy their dinner, I'm like, it feels a lot like these are just undercover like Trump people trying to get him reelected. Because you have to look at that and go, this is a Trump 2020 ad.
It's a big backfire is what it is, because this whole agenda, when they want to show America burning to the ground, I think the ploy was and the strategy was this is Trump's America, but it's starting to backfire in a big way because you now have the Don Lemons and the Jake Tappers who are actually going after some of these leftists, and because one, it sells, and two, it's fodder. I mean, they're writing the script in many ways for this, and so it's good for ratings, that's for sure. But when you have the leftist, those mouthpieces that are actually going after the progressives, we're starting to see where this thing backfired. It's almost like the media right now is trying to pull this back in to the degree that they can.
Not going to be able to.
But it's gotten out of control. Pandora's box is open.
Yeah.
And, I will say tomorrow I think I'm going to do it on radio, but I'm going to post it on Facebook and YouTube. We've spent 2 days looking into all the people that have been arrested for the fires. The media and all these fact checkers are saying, oh, there's no arson there. Are you kidding me? I have 3 pages of names that have been arrested for arson, and they're the worst of the worst. And we have their charging papers. How is anyone going to say there is no arson, and there's no names involved, and that's a conspiracy theory? And that conspiracy theory is being propagated by Facebook, YouTube, Google, and the mainstream media. And I challenge them to take it down. Tomorrow, I'm going to do it on radio and take it down. Go ahead. Justify it. How do you justify it?
I love Angry Glenn. It's sexy. Sexy.
Well, you
I'm
bring
man enough to say it.
You bring that up, Glenn. Let's talk about all of the arson charges that are going on. I was pulled into some conversation on Twitter with some guy who said that, there's no arson going on. There's no Antifa members who have been charged. That's all a lie. And I was tagged in the conversation, and so I knew that we were going to talk about this on the show, so I shared the Blaze.com link, and they're like, oh, okay, it's from the Blaze and Glenn Beck. Oh, sure. I'm like, click on the sources, you dummy. These are local news reports. These are local news reports from the actual places that they're happening.
That's what they have to do. The first thing they had to do was discredit me. And George Soros himself spent $1 million out of his own pocket to start the first full-time smear team for Media Matters. So you have to destroy me. Then you destroy anything that I say. You destroy anything connected to me. And it just keeps going on because, well, you're here, so you're now smeared. You're here, so you're smeared. And there's nothing left. It is the same thing with Antifa. It is just destroy everything. You know you're on the wrong side when your tactic is dismantle, destroy, discredit everything. What do they stand for? They say anti-fascism. But what does that even mean?
They don't know.
They do know, because they say it all the time. America. They believe America and the West is fascistic. So destroy America, and then we'll live in some utopia. Well, the world didn't find anything even close, and this is no utopia, but they never found anything close to even halfway livable until America showed up.
It's just never been tried properly, Glenn.
Oh, I know.
Socialism has never been instituted and done right. It just has never been done right. But I will say to you kids out there, and they're saying now that it was a couple of years ago, 50% of young Americans were saying that they would vote in socialism, essentially. Now 7 out of 10 are saying that they're in favor of it and they would vote for socialist practices and economy. That's scary because you're going to lose your iPhone, you're going to lose your video games,
But
you're
they have
going to
no
lose
idea.
No, you won't lose your phone. You won't lose your phone.
Well, China, as long as China's around doing their thing,
You will have your phone because it'll be the way they
They'll
track
be
you.
tracking you.
They'll be tracking you. But those are the things that, I mean, there's you're not going to eat. I mean, let's start there. And so it's insane how, again, it's a subliminal thing. It's a thing that has just little by little, it's been laundered. We've laughed at it. We've legalized it. We've lauded it. And it's all these things that are just little stuff that have been just in a micro form, just keep saturating our brains with it. It becomes normal.
If you could point to the one main factor of what's driving the young kids.
Okay, so 20
to
years
think
ago,
that way.
25 years ago, 30, you look at when postmodernism, which has been around for a while and nobody can define it, when postmodernism became kind of the philosophy du jour, right? And people were just saying, basically they were creating their own realities that were out there. When you get rid of the standard of truth and you start using things like my truth or our truth and those kind of phrases, and then you start changing the language, when you do those little things, they become the catalyst whereby there's nothing else to measure a standard anymore. You don't have that. You want to change words and change their meaning. They throw around the word racist. They don't even know what the word racist means. So when you start changing those things, we live in a postmodern world where everything is interpreted by me and by you, by the individual. So there is no standard bearer anymore. You don't have any of that. So people are making up their own rules. They're making up their own laws. You can go out in the street and act like a damn animal, and nobody's going to hold you accountable for that.
Yeah.
So you have a problem here because it's not only being dismissed and modeled. One of the most dangerous stories I have read in a long, long time is what happened with the CDC yesterday. What happened with the CDC was they decided to go against Donald Trump's, executive order. Now, the CDC is part of the executive branch, okay? He is the CEO over all of those companies, if you will, okay? So the CDC works for the president. He signed an executive order. No one in the administration or in government is to have any of these, white supremacy and critical theory, seminars. The CDC decided to go ahead with theirs anyway. And it wasn't just one, it was a 13-week course.
Good Lord.
And when you see what it was teaching, how capitalism is racist, how the whole system is racist, how it all has to be overturned, how you have to have, the last step was to make the members of the CDC into activists, okay? They're just going to do it. And the head of the CDC said, well, it's racism is a human condition, and it's as deadly as any disease. So we have to do it. Well, Trump found out about it, I think, this morning, because they moved on it this morning, and they said, that's not happening. Stop it right now. But what didn't happen was you, and you are all fired. You cannot have a deep state that says, I don't care what the president says. And I mean this. If anybody listened to me at the time, you know how much I disliked President Obama when one of the first things he did was take the just war theory out of West Point. Just war, that theory is a Christian theory that has helped us not become Nazis, okay? It helps keep us in check so we don't get power hungry and just take over countries. I was so dead set against that. But it was the president's right to say, stop teaching that. If the Pentagon would have said, or West Point would have said, okay, Mr. President, just do it anyway. All of those people should have been fired. You cannot have people who are not elected not answering to the elected official. That is fascism. Why isn't anybody fired from the CDC?
I don't like it, Glenn.
When is the president going to act and stop this?
Yeah.
I mean, Chad, really, what he's saying, it's like people, you say deep state, and people are like, that's just a conspiracy
No, it's
theory.
not.
And
Well,
it's
at this
like,
stage
hello, what is this?
That's it.
Yeah.
At this stage in the game, if you deny that, you're an idiot. I mean, that's the bottom line. You're foolish. I mean, you used to think the FBI and the CIA was nonpartisan. I mean, look at all the stuff you know now. Give me
And
a
it's the
break.
same time they're the people that said the CIA created AIDS.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop
and,
it.
And, you know, there's a reason Barack Obama still has a house in Washington, D.C. Don't give me a break.
Yeah. All right, we've got more coming up, but first we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you have back pain, knee pain, neck pain, whatever the cause or whatever the pain may be.
Pain of loss of hair?
Maybe.
I didn't feel any of that when it came out.
Maybe. You might be dealing with an inflammation
Nothing.
problem. And if you don't treat inflammation, it can cause permanent damage. That's where Omega XL comes in. It actually attacks the inflammation that is causing your pain. So you're not just like rubbing on, you know, a topical rub like icy hot or something. And you're like, wow, this feels really great for the 10 minutes that I feel it. And then I'm in pain again. You don't have to live that way. You can use Omega XL, which neutralizes the inflammation that causes these painful stiff joints and muscles. Let me tell you something. When you get out of pain, it truly is life-changing. And if you are one of many, many people who just walk around all day in pain, you got to try this, okay? It is worth it. Let's get you started. Order Omega XL right now. Get a second bottle for free. You can go to omegaxl.com/news. Get that second bottle for free by going to omegaxl.com/news. Back in a minute. All right, we were talking about all of the, quote, fake news that there is actually arson going on with all of these fires going on in California that have just devastated so many homes. So Joe Biden talking about climate and climate change and President Trump.
Can we, before you get to the sound of this, can we just take that still photo of him there? He is the frickin' scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. He is.
I mean, it's like he's waiting for Dorothy to help him down.
They really do, and I've noticed too that they do try. They're very cognizant of what his backdrop is.
Yeah.
When he's speaking, because he had the big trucks behind him when he was talking about Build Back Better.
Yeah, Ford Raptors too. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Because progressive liberals that care about the environment are buying a lot of Ford Raptors.
They love the Raptors.
Yeah.
So here is Joe Biden talking about President Trump and how President Trump is actually the climate arsonist himself. Watch.
But you know what is actually threatening our suburbs? Wildfires are burning the suburbs in the West. Floods are wiping out suburban neighborhoods in the Midwest. Hurricanes are imperiling suburban life along our coast. If we have 4 more years of Trump's climate denial, how many suburbs will be burned in wildfires? How many suburban neighborhoods will have been flooded out? How many suburbs will have been blown away in superstorms?
This is great.
If you give a climate arsonist 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised if we have more America ablaze?
Okay, stop. Stop. Look at put that on the screen. Zoom in on his face for me, will you? Just zoom in on his face. Because he's turned into one of the old Muppets.
My gosh, he is.
He is. His eyes don't move. They're just a little slant.
Yeah, they're so
And he's like, and what's happening around here? I don't get it. He's just this angry Muppet.
Why?
Put
Like, why
Bernie
is he?
Sanders next to him, he'd look like the two that are sitting up in the theater.
It would.
Why is he yelling? He has
He's so
microphones.
condescending. That's the thing that annoys me. Look here, man. Listen, man.
Yeah.
So condescending. It's like he's scolding a child. This whole thing, what about the Democratic cities that are on fire? Let's talk about that, right? People who are actually... It used to be blacks went into their black communities and burned their communities down during riots. Now you've got white people going into the black community, burning things down.
I don't know how anyone is not seeing this.
Yeah.
What he said is absolutely true. You look at it, at the beginning, it was a lot of black people. There are no black people involved. There's no black people. It's all white people saying, we're here to, help the black people. Let me burn their house down. It's like, wait.
Exactly what's going on.
It's like the Klan with some weird Alice in Wonderland PR firm.
Yeah, we were at the Tulsa rally, the Trump rally, and Sarah was there. And you remember the big BLM parade protest that came down the street?
Yes,
there were a couple of hundred folks. One black guy.
Yeah, it was all white.
One black guy in the entire thing.
White people who looked like they hadn't showered in about a week.
Yeah,
at least.
And they hadn't. I love that Trump has so much power that he can sit on the toilet at 3 a.m. in the West Wing and tweet something out, spray painted orange with a white Speedo tan line, and control the climate. He can control the hurricanes, the weather, the superstorms. What's a superstorm? I mean, I get it, but where's Greta Thunberg? I thought she was going to fix all of this stuff. This is like NBA players putting social justice messages on the back of their jersey. That doesn't end racism, okay? This earth can shake us off if it wants to. It's done it. It's done it. God's done it. It can happen again, right? What we're seeing right here is, and we've talked about this on the show before. This is earth. This is our country right here. Let's say that. The hand of God is being removed. The grace is being removed. The mercy is being removed. We're getting what we deserve. 2020 is a perfect example of the things that this man said for the last 30 years. You keep on pressing. When it says, be not deceived, God is not mocked in the book of Galatians, that phrase in the Greek language says you don't thumb your nose at God. And that's all we've done now. That's all we've done. I had a Western civilization course in college. I had 2 semesters of it. I had to read the most exhaustive, boring book about Western civilization for 2 semesters. And at the end of it, we were like, why in the hell did you make us read this book? He said, I wanted you to see one thing in that book, this thick. Man's inhumanity to man. It's always been there. It'll always be there. And to the degree that grace is removed, you are going to continue to see it get worse and worse. And that's what we're seeing. So to blame Donald Trump is ridiculous.
Yeah. Let me just bring one more thing into the equation here, talking about climate change. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti, he went on with Anderson Cooper and had a little bit to say on President Trump disagreeing with his prediction that the Earth's temperatures are just going to continue increasing. And here's what he had to say. Watch.
The idea of saying, I don't think science knows, is like turning back 2,000 years of human progress. It's like saying the truth doesn't actually know. We know what is causing this. There is consensus there, and he's kind of one of the last members of the Flat Earth Society. But, denial doesn't work when it comes to COVID. Denial doesn't work when it comes to climate. And the cost of denial is that people lose their lives and their livelihood.
What an incredible... What a miraculous time to have climate change fires right at election season this year. Not any other time. This year. To have the entire West Coast on fire and have it not caused by people who are setting it on fire. Isn't that incredible? They're setting towns and everything else on fire, but it is too crazy to think that they would set a forest on fire. You're right. That doesn't compute at all. So it's all happening now in the West right before the election, so they can change the conversation to climate change now. Yeah. It's absolutely insane.
I was wondering I wanted to know where climate change went. I mean, when coronavirus happened, nobody was talking about climate change. And back during the primaries for the Democratic debates, they were saying that was the number one thing they were concerned with.
And what's crazy is it's really burning down Washington, Oregon, and California. It's burning it down.
Democratic states.
And they're all Democratic states. You're not going to get any, by talking climate change, you're not going to get any more voters in California, Oregon, or California. I mean, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, well, we haven't built a dam since 1971. We have no water reservoirs anymore, and we're not clear cutting or cutting the underbrush or doing controlled burns anymore. Of course this is happening. I'm sorry, that's too far over the head into eco science for those people in California. But that's what's happening. And then you hear Joe Biden standing there like the scarecrow in front of the grass going, and how many suburbs? How many suburbs are going to burn if this continues? Nobody except California, Washington, and Oregon are thinking about their suburbs burning down to the ground. In the rest of the country, and then saying it's going to be a forest fire. They're all thinking, yeah, it's Antifa. I mean, how many more suburbs will burn in the next 4 years?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All great points. All right. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor this segment, Laurel Springs. So if you are still doing distance learning, maybe you are stuck with one of those school districts that have crazy, ridiculous rules that want to mask up your kids, or you got to keep your kids remote at home. They're not giving you another option. You got to know about Laurel Springs. For nearly 30 years, Laurel Springs has been bringing their expertise to distance learning. They have already become experts in this, so you don't have to be. They go from grades kindergarten through 12th, so they've got it all, and they are a student-centered experience for each learner's path and pace. Laurel Springs offers specialized programs for academically driven students desiring advanced and accelerated instruction through its academy, and also designed for you parents who want to pull your hair out when you try to sit there and teach your kid remote, all of these things. Not that I would know from any personal experience being pregnant and not being able to drink wine while I'm trying to teach my kid his remote schoolwork, all right?
You don't have to be pregnant. I can't drink a lick of alcohol either, and it's not helpful. Not helpful.
I got you both covered.
Laurel Springs, it is fully accredited, by the way. Their transcripts are recognized by colleges and universities worldwide. You got to go take control of your child's education. There is a better way. You can go to laurelsprings.com/Y. You'll get a waived registration fee now. That is laurelsprings.com/YWHY. laurelsprings.com/Y for a waived registration fee. Go there now. All right, Governor Tom Wolf's pandemic restrictions that required people to stay at home. It placed size limits on gatherings and ordered, quote, non-life-sustaining businesses to shut down are apparently, who knew, unconstitutional, according to a federal judge who ruled this just yesterday. The Wolf administration is going to appeal. Now, this federal judge was appointed by President Trump. And he said that he sided with the plaintiffs. Now, that included hair salons, sorry, Nancy Pelosi, drive-in movie theaters, a farmer's market vendor, a horse trainer, and several Republican office holders in the lawsuit against Tom Wolf and his health secretary, who obviously said that he was overreaching and violated their constitutional rights. Do you think that that there will be more states that fall victim to this type of thing? Do you think that any other states are going to see any sort of backlash from this? Because Pennsylvania obviously was not the only state that did this. I mean, we're still, well, Chad, Chad, I'll let you speak about Texas, Chad.
You know how I feel about the whole thing, in that I think any of these mandates are not constitutional. None of them, right? I'm ready for them to snatch these signs down out of the convenience store and the restaurant doors that say you can't come in here, no mask, no service. I'm sorry, no. Absolutely.
No, you have a right to do that as a business.
You have a right to. Here's what I want to do. Yeah, as an elected official, when you're handing down these mandates,
you don't have that right.
Right.
What I do is if I'm opening, Happy Chang's,
right,
and I don't want people in, without a mask, I can put that sign.
You can put that up there.
The state can't tell me to put that sign up.
Thank you. That's the point.
So, but hold on. To that point, how much pressure can the state, do you think, is reasonable for the state to be allowed to put on them? Like, not making it a mandate, but saying, well, we really, really, really recommend that you guys do that because we'd hate to pull funding from your area. Or, I mean, there are plenty of things that the state can do without mandating it.
They shouldn't have the funding for our area. What do you mean? You're going to stop building roads?
I mean, I'm
going to stop paying taxes.
Well, it's politics, right? So I just worry that saying, well, as long as it's not a mandate. I mean, these private businesses, I know a lot of them don't agree with it.
They do not have a right to bully anybody.
Yeah.
I have a right to be stupid. I have a right to, to live my own life. I have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are my rights. They have the right, the governors do, not the federal government. For health concerns, they do have the right for temporary measures. But Fauci is now saying, did you see the latest?
Yeah, into late next year.
Yeah, we will not be fully opened, maybe not even at the end of 2021. What the?
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
100% out of his mind.
This is. Look, we are fundamentally changing everything about America. How many people have been shook from the tradition of football this season? Basketball, baseball, I don't really care about it anymore. The Macy's Day Parade has been canceled. That means in my family, that's a tradition.
Yeah,
even if we can't go, we just turn it on, and while we're getting things ready, we have the Macy's Day Parade on. Everything. 30 days makes a habit. Mm-hmm. How many people were in the habit of going to church that when they weren't necessarily driven, but they wanted to go, and it was a habit? Now you have to get them to get back into the habit to go. Mm-hmm. We have taken all of the things that our kids get up, certain hour a day, get ready for school, pack your lunch, be responsible, do those things. Those habits are all gone. Mm-hmm. We are breaking every good habit, every good American instinct, of helping our neighbor, of looking into each other's eyes, of going and visiting the sick. We've destroyed ourselves, and they keep dragging it out. There's not going to be anything left in the end.
It's profound, and I'll tell you, I'm calling it a new religion of safetyism, and we're worshiping at the altar of safety. And these people they've now. I had no idea people were that fearful of death, honestly, of something that really isn't killing that many people statistically. But people are so scared of this thing. I go back to what we were talking about earlier, just the subconscious, subliminal stuff that has been pumped into our brains. I'm preaching today, but as a man thinks, so is he, right? Mm-hmm. That the Hebrew word for thinks is for a gatekeeper. What you allow through the gate is what you become. Your heart, your mind, your soul. You keep letting this stuff come in, and it's what you're going to become. And we're becoming automatons with no liberty, with no idea of pursuing happiness. We're pursuing safety.
To this point, two things on safety remind me of coming back to safety. Two things. On that point, America would never have put up with any of this stuff had the internet been this powerful.
Right.
So we are just locked in. They're normalizing pedophilia on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Well, we should cancel our Netflix subscription. Well, no, let's not get hasty. Let's not get hasty. They're normalizing pedophilia. Yeah. How do we not rally around that and say, hey, you cancel this, you apologize, we'll sign up again? Right. No, we're not putting up with this. We won't even do that. And on safety, the culture of safetyism, they're now throwing themselves in front of police cars, then throwing themselves on the hood, and then rolling off the back when the police car moves, and then claiming that they were damaged, that they were somehow or another put into an unsafe situation. You're standing in front of a car, okay? And I'm trying to move my car. You are all threatening me. Of course I'm going to do that. It's from a culture where they have been made safe their whole life. There's no pain. You don't have to worry about it. You're safe, sweetheart. Nobody's going to do anything to hurt you. Well, you stand in front of a police car, you chase a cop with a knife. And I applaud when they shoot you.
And look at the earlier clip we showed where they're harassing this older couple. They're not going to fight back.
Right.
See, that's safe. You're not confronting me. Right. You're not confronting any of my boys. Yeah. You're confronting this older couple. They're bullying people in the inner city who aren't armed because they know it's safe to do it that way.
And they know if they go out into some of the suburbs or, God forbid, out into the farmland, those people will meet the back end of a shovel.
Well, here's the thing. Not only that, I mean, you talk about the pedophilia thing. There's a new vaccine for pedophilia. I don't know if you've heard about it. It comes in syringes the size of 5.56 and 2.23. That's where my mind is on that, especially after your special last week, which is just jaw-dropping and eye-opening on this thing. Just the insanity that's there that we've embraced, and again, we've normalized it. We've laughed at it for so many years. Watch the sitcoms. Men are weak. The women are bullies. We've normalized perverted relationships. Just look at TV. It's been there for 30 years.
We said, because I've been doing this since the 1970s. I've been on radio since the 1970s. So I have a long enough time in it to where I've seen the argument over and over again. And every time, slippery slope. There is no slippery slope. We're normalizing pedophilia. Yeah. I was sitting with Tim Ballard from Operation OUR, and he said, Glenn, have you seen that? And I said, no. And he said, Glenn, I was in DHS. I was part of the jump teams to go rescue children from pedophiles. That's what the pedophiles were watching. Mm-hmm. He said, we used that kind of stuff as bait to catch them.
Yeah.
And now it's just normalized.
Mm-hmm. All right. We've got more to come. Back in a minute. Let's talk about a little bit more about, Glenn, you referred to it before the break, the video that captured the moment that a man was injured after a group of protesters. Now, these protesters were protesting Donald Trump's visit to California, to Sacramento yesterday. So they were protesting President Donald Trump, and they decided that it would be a really good idea to attack a police cruiser. Not sure how you could be alive with a brain and think that would end well for you. But here is the video of that moment. Watch.
I actually really enjoy this.
I do too.
Oh.
There he is.
Now look at this cop car actually pauses. He stops. Is he okay? And they start coming after him.
Yeah, that he hits the back of his car.
Yeah, I mean, you were just a few days away from somebody coming up to a cop car and shooting them both.
Right.
Oh, I don't know.
In California.
I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be surrounded by a bunch of anarchists.
Yeah. No.
It is incredible.
I watched it 30 times.
I mean, really, what do you think? You know, for all the talk that they say about police officers, they will tell you, well, they knew the risks when they took the job. Well, does this idiot not know the risk when he climbs on top of a car that's moving?
Safetyism. He's been told that he's fine. Yeah. Nobody will ever do anything to him. He can't be hurt. They got to stop. You'd have to stop. I mean, this is safetyism.
Yeah. They're going after it.
And the fact that the second cop slowed down and stopped to see if he was okay is incomprehensible. I do not have the strength to do that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
All right, really quickly, let's talk about the Republicans who unveiled their new agenda if they win back the House. So they just unveiled this today. I want to get your thoughts on it. Kevin McCarthy announced it. They dubbed it the Commitment to America, and they outlined a blueprint for restoring the economy, defeating the coronavirus, and backing school choice and law enforcement. So they're calling it the three main themes. They're calling restore a way of life, rebuild the greatest economy in history, and renew the American dream. They also call for adding 10 million more jobs, starting with an additional $200 billion in forgivable loans to small businesses through the PPP. What do you think? Is that going to be enough to win it?
Yeah, well, at least they're focused on the right things.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody
else is, everybody
climate
else.
Change.
No, and the weather stripping. He actually talked about that in his speech. But I think people are saying to themselves, I want something to happen with coronavirus. I got to have my job first. Let's make sure this is fine. Make sure my kids are fine. Help me get a job. Help me get back to work and stop this nonsense with the police. I think that is the right. If I'm a one-person focus group, I'd be like, Yep.
They're focused on the right things. I agree with that. I think that's, so many of these ethereal ideas that are being espoused by the left, so many different things that are out there that it is.
Critical race theory?
I mean, it's
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a fact. It's not a theory. It says theory in the name, but it's not a theory. It's a fact.
Let's focus on the real issues. At least I think they're trying to get back to that and doing it. I just want Republicans to stand up, come out from under the rock and have a backbone and be the loudest voice in the room.
I would vote for anybody who just their slogans was shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Did you see the Biden campaign Instagram that said he'll do?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
It's a picture of Joe and it just says he'll do.
Wow.
Was that made as a...
No.
It's not parody.
It was really from his campaign. Did you see I think it was Harris and Biden both referred to their administration as the Harris Biden.
The Harris administration.
The Harris administration with the help of Joe Biden. Yeah. And then Joe Biden said
he's
the
a
Harris
skin
Biden
puppet, right? I mean, he's a skin mask. I mean, that's all he is. I mean, it is the Harris administration if he gets elected.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to last. He won't be there 12 months.
Are they going to debate?
Well, I think this whole idea of doing it with Joe Rogan's a phenomenally bad idea. But
what?
I think it's a bad idea.
Why?
I just do. I just think it's a bad idea.
I think if I were Donald Trump, I would say sign up for it right now because Biden will never do it.
Well, Trump's agreed to do it.
Yeah, sign up right now and demand and set a date. Say, October 20th, I'm going to be there and actually show up.
It'll be the biggest media event in history.
It would be.
It would be huge. I just think it's a bad idea. I think for Trump, it's a bad idea.
Why?
I just do. I think that Rogan, first of all, everybody needs to remember is a comedian, and he wants the shock factor.
I think you have to remember there's nobody better at shock than Donald Trump. And I think he can hold his own. He's been in the World Wrestling Federation ring.
True.
I think he could play. I think he could play Rogan's game.
Yeah. Well, if anybody can, he can. Scary. I'll put it this way. I'd rather see that than, Anderson Cooper moderating. Right? Or Rachel Maddow or somebody like that. I mean, this whole thing's gotten Western. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore.
All right, back in a minute.
It's gotten Western. What does that mean?
It's just gotten wild, outlaw. It's, don't get me wrong.
All right, yesterday's poll, how are you planning on voting this year? 91% of you said in person, followed by 7.3% who said mail-in, and 1.5% of you said not voting. I feel like that's just random Twitter people, not the viewers of this show. I would like to believe that all of the viewers of this show are going to be voting.
Tomorrow on radio, I have a story of the first time the Democrats tried to steal an election with mail-in voting. It's incredible. It's incredible. There's never been a problem. Really? Tell that to the people that lived in 1865.
Oh.
It backfired big time.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. Tomorrow on radio?
Tomorrow on radio, then tomorrow night I have the Civil War, how America may end by the end of 2020.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait. All right, 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Yes, right? Tomorrow night.
All right, today's poll, what are you most afraid of? Your options are coronavirus, the riots, or President Biden. I don't want to, just don't put President Biden on there.
Coronavirus is out.
I mean, if Biden wins, I guess, but I don't like seeing the term President Biden. I just don't like it. It doesn't look right.
I would go with most afraid, not afraid, most worried, President
Biden.
Who's he?